music never gets old. You're right, it doesn't. This music is called Say Goodnight by Joakim. I told you the story how they offered this free to anybody to use, and then they changed their mind. But they had no expiration date on it in that little description box contract that they had. And so they started copywriting me years ago every video I had that had this music. And I kept appealing to YouTube, and I showed them the contract. And they said, yeah, you're right, PineCreek, Doug, you're right. Just like the Wichita Home Office, right, Myron? Yeah, 98.7 documented to be correct. Woot woot, yeah. So I got a question. I pinned the link if you want to call in any topic you want to talk about. Hopefully it's not too boring to me. If it's boring to me, I'll be honest and let you know. But guess how much it costs to, I think it's 2023. Yeah. How much each illegal immigrant costs the country. Per illegal immigrant. Guess how much it costs? Someone's actually done the calculation on that. Well, an organization has. Put your guess in the live stream chat. How much it costs. In other words, it takes into consideration the benefits, what the Immigrant Benefits Society subtract the costs. I'll just give you a hint. It's negative in 2023. Write your guess. How much each illegal immigrant costs the taxpayer in the United States. Ooh-wee. Getting off to a hot start. Can I get an amen, Myron? Most people don't know this, but Myron's black. I don't know why I said that. I know I know why I said that. Because I said, well, amen. And I look at you and I go, amen. Yeah. Darkin says 20,000. Yuva says 17,000. Wow. What guesses? Are we talking about recent refugees or long-time illegals? No, the recent ones. The ones that came in 2023. Little Potato says over 80,000. Bien of you. French. I don't know if I like the French. Like, really, what has the French done for me lately? Like, did they come up with the French kiss? The correct answer is, you guys were all too high. It's 9,500. I'm going to show this. This is apparently, of course, someone who leans left will never believe this. Maybe they would. I don't know. But apparently, this organization called... What's this organization called again? FAIR. It's called FAIR. It's supposed to be nonpartisan. Doesn't support any political candidates. The fiscal burden of illegal immigration on the United States taxpayers in 2023. And this is the summary. Summary is that the federal government spends I know it's hard to see, $66 billion on illegal immigrants, but total state and local expenditures is $116 billion, for a grand total of $182 billion. Let's see if I can make that clearer. That's better. And then, but illegal immigrants buy stuff. So they give some of the money back. Total federal taxes paid by illegal immigrants, $16 billion. Total state and local taxes paid, $15 billion. So total money back at us is $31 billion. So the money received minus the money spent on them would be $31 billion, subtract $182 billion, which for those of you from Nebraska, that's a negative number, a deficit of $150.7 billion. And you take $150.7 billion divided by roughly 15 million illegal immigrants currently residing. So actually, yeah, what I said earlier was wrong. That's not just the ones that came in. It's the everybody who lives in the United States as an illegal alien. And if there's 15 million of them, you take 150 billion divided by 15 million, it's roughly $10,000 per illegal immigrant per year. And then they go into how they do it, their methodology and everything. The simple way to think about it is, imagine a low-skilled illegal immigrant comes in, and not only comes in, but gets his family in, wife, 3, 4, 5 kids. Imagine the cost to provide healthcare, education, like assuming they have nothing, they're not rich. Like healthcare and education alone. And then, of course, if you have to feed them through food stamps, and the low-skilled worker makes what, 30, 40, 50,000 tops a year? You think that comes even close to covering his family's bills? No. So it's subsidized by the government. If you can understand that very basic common sense, you can understand why it's a net deficit. Now, I hear the voices of woke liberals in my head, woke progressives in my head saying, but in the long run, they're going to pay for themselves. Not if illegal immigration keeps increasing. You'll always have that deficit problem, right? Because you're always waiting for that return to come, but you're constantly refeeding the system with more illegal immigrants. So it costs us a negative amount. Did I say that? If I did, I misspoke. Unlike Governor Waltz, I can admit when I misspeak. Oh, yeah. Don't get me started on that. You know that interview of Harris on CNN went bad when the people on the left are not really talking about it. I looked at Pac-Man's channel today, Young Turks. They're not really talking about it much. But everybody else is, and saying it was a disaster. I've seen very little of it. I made a short on the part I did see. It was so juicy. But like, what's interesting to me is if you go on YouTube right now and you type in the word, well, you are on YouTube right now, and you type in Harris interview CNN full, you won't find the full interview. It's chopped up. Maybe I'm missing something. It's all in pieces, which means there's a ton of editing. To me, that's suspicious. Maybe it's out there. Can anybody find it? And it's over 20 minutes long, so I'll search for over 20 minutes. Takeaways from the CNN, that's over 20 minutes. There's a lot of commentary about it. Highlights. Daily Beast Live. Maybe they have the... No, I don't think CNN released the full interview, did they? It's in pieces. If I go to CNN's channel, "9 minutes." I'm just looking at lengths right now. It definitely was not live. Yeah, I know it was taped, but you would think they would still have their edits, but have like basically the full interview from start to finish. And sure, you're going to have cuts or whatever. But I was expecting to see something like the CNN interview of Harris and Waltz full. Like something 30 minutes long or something, 45 minutes long. But no, it's all in little 8-minute pieces. it almost makes it seem like one question was asked, they answer for 5 to 8 minutes, and then, okay, cut, break, and then Harris goes, I need water. Breaking points did a breakdown of the whole thing. I don't want to see a breakdown. I want to see, I want to get my own views on things. Okay. Here's, no, this is even interspersed with commentary. Okay, interview, part 1. Oh yeah, this is what I made a short on. So what I have to search for is, okay, let's, and people can call in anytime. We don't have to watch or listen to this.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for sitting down with me and bringing the bus.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
The bus tour is well underway here in Georgia. You have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American history. The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day 1 in the White House?
Well, yeah, there are a number of things.
So I made a short on this. Imagine Trump is asked the same question. You've heard Trump's answer to this, right?
I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. Okay,
thanks, Leanne Miller. Maybe I will do that. You said breaking points. Breaking points, isn't that trans person? Not that I have anything against trans people. They're my favorite people. My whole organization someday is going to be filled with trans women because they have the intelligence of the women and the speed and the strength and testosterone of a man. Unless they've gone through anti-doping.
I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people. I think that people are ready for a new way forward.
A new way forward, meaning they want something other than the Biden-Harris administration?
In a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation. And I think
dividing our nation? I thought it was the president's job and the administration of the president to bring the nation together. Are we more divided now than we were, let's say, in 2016, 17, 18? The answer is yes. Whose fault is that? Presidential administrations are sort of like God. When something goes wrong, it's somebody else's fault, never God's. And when something goes right, glory to God. When something goes right, glory to the Biden administration. When something goes wrong, Trump's fault. Or Republicans.
people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day 1?
Day 1, it's going to be about, 1, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard. Which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families. For example, extending the child tax credit
to
$6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life, to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy.
Harris says $6,000 tax credit for each kid. Do I hear 7,000 from the Republicans? 7,000, 7,000. Do I hear 8,000? 8,000. We should have an auction.
Baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do.
What did she say about baby clothes and cribs?
To $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life, to help them
first year,
buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib.
You know, if you can't afford baby clothes and a crib, maybe you should have thought twice about having a baby. But maybe I'm asking too much.
There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be, and I think many of these things that the Vice President's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit is one we know that reduces childhood poverty by a third. We did it in Minnesota. To have a federal partner in this, unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You talked about
So all that, what I'm going to do on day one, child tax credit for year one. Okay.
you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
I think it's safe to say that most Americans' lives were better in, let's say, 2017, 2018, 2019 than they are in 22, 23, and 24.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all...
By the way, this is the reason why some Republicans don't like the Trump administration. It's because how Trump handled the COVID thing. Like, they said, you should encourage no lockdowns. Let people do what they do.
Tracking the numbers, hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed.
It always boggles my mind when people blame Trump for the deaths from COVID, when every government in the world, not every, but most, had deaths from COVID.
Large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation.
If this is rescuing America, I don't want to be rescued.
Inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But
because we're number one.
Right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it. Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging. What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their...
I showed a chart the other day that the S&P 500, the 500 largest companies in the country, their profit margins are basically the same. They're a little bit higher, but roughly the same now as they were back in 2017, 2018, 2019. Now, if there's a company, one single company that's price gouging, yeah, then go after them. But this is not a rampant problem. The reason why inflation hit is because of all the free money stimulus from the COVID scare and then the Federal Reserve pumping money into the system for decades. And the reason why inflation is coming down right now is because the Federal Reserve raised interest rates, which has nothing to do with the administration.
Most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment.
Yeah, that will lower the cost of homes, right?
On a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration. But
by the way, if she gets elected president, and if anybody makes use of that $25,000 to buy their first home, I expect a letter of thank you. Because it's people like me who pay the majority of the taxes in this country. I at least want to thank you. Is that too much to ask? Ooh.
Do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had
Great
to
question.
recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that...
Wait, you couldn't have done the $6,000 first-year child tax credit and recover at the same time? You couldn't introduce the $25,000 first-time homebuyer thing in your first year and recover?
we have done...
If it's about money, like... We don't have the money now to do these things, so doesn't make a difference. We just print it, right? We just digitize it.
Cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia, and
what's sad about this, I've heard this many times, the bragging about the $35 diabetes drugs. It's really sad that in a nation this size, that's even an issue. It's sad that that's a bragging point, because that means most of this country is fat. Fat, I say, right, Myron? Yeah, I know I could stand to lose a few pounds, but so could you. Yeah, stop spending your minimum wage on Dunkin' Donuts.
Around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited. I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that anymore.
You maintain
In Nevada, I wonder if she was how often she goes to the casino.
Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend...
Roger asked, Doug, can you talk about how dumb her plan to tax unrealized gains is? Yes, it is uber dumb. Here's the reason why. Now, I'm not sure how many people this is going to affect, but in fact, let's take it off Harris. Let's just think of this as a hypothetical. When you tax unrealized gains, what you're doing is you're basically saying, well, those gains are real and will never go away. And so we're going to tax them as if they're realized. That's the hidden assumption. But if you buy a house and it doubles in price and you tax that doubling, the difference, and then who knows? A deep recession hits, and now the price of the house halves compared to your purchase price. So you went from, let's say, $100,000 to $200,000 down to $50,000. You've still paid that tax, even though the price of your home is worth less than what you bought it. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Should I say one more stupid, or is 3 enough? Okay, back to the video.
The child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%. When we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America, what we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs, I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
Fracking, isn't that like you take your French fries and you break them in half, something like that?
Fracking.
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
Yeah, the question was, do you want to? If you were the dictator of the world, would you do it? If you already win and everybody loves you no matter what you do, would you ban fracking? That's what the question's getting at.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word.
She's kind of giving the excuse that, I'll put it in terms of abortion. Someone on the right could say, as a politician, I'm against all abortion, but I'm not going to make any policies to outlaw it. I think that's the stance she's trying to make here. I'm against fracking. I hate fracking, but I'm not going to do anything about it. But the reason why these types of questions are important is because if someone deep inside their belly want to do something and they have the power to do it, they might do it. Okay, we got a call here. Fearful of 2025. Oh, this should be good. Oh, there's lots of me here. Hi,
Hey, Doug, it's me. It's your friend.
Oh, it's you.
But I am fearful of 2025, and I'm ready to talk about it.
Okay. I am here to allay your fears.
Okay, so number one fear is kind of the gutting and the removal of a lot of basically people who have been out throughout the government. And when you think about that, think about things like the FTC that protect consumers. Where are we going to be if Trump basically makes it so businesses can just, we bring them to court and we have no protections? That's possible.
Okay, question number one. Why do you think Trump will want to do that or sign off on that?
I don't think Trump really cares about being president. I think when you look at him talking to the Heritage Foundation, the people involved in his administration, I think we have good reason to believe Trump just wants to be president.
Right.
And from there, Heritage is going to run the show. Like Mitch McConnell picked SCOTUS. We all know that. Trump didn't pick SCOTUS.
Okay.
So I think Trump just wants to be president. I think this is just the Republican agenda on steroids. So maybe I should say that. It's not Trump. It's the Republicans.
Okay. And so you're fearful that if Trump wins, the Heritage Foundation will take control of the country and...
No, not quite.
Or have huge influence, and that will lead to the FTC going away?
A lot of different organizations. When you look at the FTC, kind of also you think about when it comes to food safety. Are we going to have the same food safety regulations? Are we going to have social safety nets? Are we going to have environmental regulations? Are we going to have public health care? Are people with pre-existing conditions going to have health care access?
Are you saying, when you say, are we going to have, that could mean two things. That could mean that it could go away completely, or it could mean that it'll be reduced, right?
Correct. And I think the best way to describe this is I don't want to go back. And I think that's what's so key is we don't want to go back to people not having access to healthcare who had pre-existing conditions. That's a key thing to understand is like we don't want to go back to these policies that we had in place that Heritage and other conservative groups are fighting for so that their lobbyists in the healthcare administrations, healthcare industries can get more money.
Okay.
So I think it's a rational fear that if
why do you believe it's the government's responsibility to take care of people's health care?
No, that's not what I think.
Oh, okay. So if that goes away, then that's fine then.
No, I'm not fighting for Obamacare. I'm fighting for healthcare not being allowed to kick off people with pre-existing conditions. So the government can say to a healthcare provider, if somebody has cancer and they're trying to get healthcare, you can't say you can't have health.
Okay, this is going to sound very harsh and cruel, but I think this will be informative. Why ought a healthcare provider take care of someone that will be a huge net negative to them?
To help the economy, to help the general health of America.
Someone who's someone who's chronically sick will never help the economy. They're a burden to the economy.
So you're saying they should just die?
No.
Well, I'm just trying to understand where.
But let's be real. Let's talk truth.
Okay.
Someone who's very, very sick and has a pre-existing condition, if you're talking about economics, will always be a burden. Unless, like, I'm talking about, they're dying of cancer and maybe they have an OnlyFans account and still making money somehow. But I'm talking about the really sick that can't do anything, that can't work. We got to face facts. They will be a burden. And so what you're asking health insurance companies to do is to pay for them, to pay for that burden.
No, they shouldn't pay for them, but they should subsidize, yes, in a sense, pay for them. So to be exact, yes, make some payments, but that individual is still going to have to contribute to their healthcare plan. My personal opinion on healthcare is that the government should subsidize healthcare so that everyone can afford it based on their income. And there's a government plan that's a sliding
Well, wait a minute
scale.
though. If let's say they have no income, you would still say that the government should take care of them.
Correct. You might not like that, but yes.
Yeah. And I would say, okay, maybe the government could take care of them, but maybe private charities can. And let's be honest, that's what it is. It's charity work.
Here's what I think is that if we have people getting healthcare and earlier access to it, where They're taught to be healthier, taught to be more active. If they're outside getting exercise, not smoking, not overeating, not eating fast foods, the general health of America improves. And so we should be rewarding doctors and individuals who are doing good health practices. And we should find these doctors who are promoting health at any size.
Why
and
not
they should be
reward
the ones
people,
that-
not the doctors? So the way
Well,
you
yes, doctors and people.
so the way you reward people for having healthier lifestyles is by not forcing them to pay for people who don't.
I will think on that.
Ooh, that was some hardcore capitalism right there.
Well, I don't want to say yes or no unless I totally
See,
have
this
thought it.
is the main difference between the capitalist mind and the socialist mind. The capitalist mind says the best way to incentivize good behavior is saying that, okay, you take care of yourself first, and if you do, your healthcare costs will be lower. But on the same hand, if someone's told you take care of yourself really, really well, but your neighbor doesn't, by the way, you got to pay for your neighbor.
And I can see how you're right with capitalism. That's why I'm not a complete capitalist. And I'm going to kind of transition right here to another topic, if you get where I'm going.
Okay.
You talked about kind of what would be the worst thing if you're trans and Project 2025.
Trans! Oh, thank you for bringing it up. This is my favorite topic.
Did you not hear that I said I'm going to transition into different topics? I come on. I'm trying. So I'm
so excited now.
Points. So with this, you were talking on your stream. I watched it while doing some driving, and you were saying, what's the worst that could happen?
You watched it or listened to it?
Oh, yes. Correction. No, did not watch it.
Okay, good.
So if you did some mannerisms, I'm sorry, I didn't catch those. But with this, you were like, what's the worst that could happen to me if I was trans in Project 2025 and Trump comes in? I don't think you mentioned, what if there's no anti-discrimination laws and my job fires me? And they just say, we don't want trans people working here. Maybe you've worked there 10, 15 years, you're in that industry, and your job just says, we don't want trans people here. And there's no
you're not trans, are you?
Doug, come on. You think I'm gay? You think I'm trans? I mean,
well, if you lean far left, like, it's a good chance you are.
well, no, I can. Okay, I don't think there would be a good chance I am. I think you would think it's more probable, but I don't think I reached that 50% barrier, even if I'm far left. And I'm not far left. I'm center left.
I'm actually okay with discrimination against gender identity. I don't
really.
Yeah, and you know why? Because there's no hard evidence that someone is trans to begin with. Like, for example, even race is a social construct, I'll admit, but you can see someone's skin shade. You can't see someone's transness. So if someone says they're trans, you can't discriminate against me, but they are, let's say, a 6-foot guy wearing a dress and lipstick, and he wants to work at a restaurant, the customer's going to go, they're going to lose their appetite.
Not me.
Well, a lot of people would. They would say this is strange. Would you admit, like, a 6-foot guy with stubble and wearing a dress and lipstick? Because it's against the social construct, right?
And the first person I met who's gay, I thought was strange. And the first time I was younger. And I think the more people you meet in these communities, the less strange they are.
Sure, but it'll take probably centuries for that social, like, back in the 1800s, like, I know men dressed a little differently, but in general, women wear dresses and men wear slacks, that sort of thing. That hasn't changed for like 200 years, 300 years. And so the changes you're thinking of, yeah, maybe in 300 years. But right now, if someone owns a business and what is perceived to be a male is going against the social construct and dressing like a female, I think it's okay for the owner to say, no, I don't want you working here.
What if that individual doesn't do any on company time, but they find out that the individual in their own personal life is doing it, and the owner of the company says, I just disagree with that lifestyle.
That's different. Yeah, that's different. Okay. But I still think that you can fire people for being fat. You can fire people for being ugly. You can fire people for just. I'm not. And technically, you can fire people for being Democrat.
I'm not sure you can fire people for being fat and ugly. Maybe you have specific examples, but
there's no protection against obesity.
Can you fire someone for being fat? I, um, I do not know. So yeah, maybe there. It's saying
Like,
the ADA law.
yeah, there's protections against race, religion, sexual proclivities.
It
But
might be wrongful termination. I
like,
don't
if I
know.
was an owner and I had thousands of employees, I could just go up to an employee and say, "I don't like you. You're fired."
I think
You,
that's in a right to work state. I think some states have that and some states don't. Each state, we have different states with different laws.
as far as I know, technically, you don't even have to give a reason to fire someone.
Maybe a lawyer's in the chat. They can put in the comments. But I can switch topics. We kind of petered out on that one, I guess.
Okay. Back to trans, because we love.
Well,
Oh no, I guess we're
one
still on it. But
well, my problem is what Trump. I won't say Trump anymore. What the Heritage Foundation wants to do, which I believe is going to really run the show with their people coming into the administration, is they just want to gut everyone out of all these federal groups. So the FTC, every single group is going to be complete Trump loyalists, and we're going to see.
like, do you think? Okay, FTC, that's the Food Trade.
Federal? Yeah, the federal. Oh my gosh, let me double check. FDA is the
Yeah,
Food
FDA.
Drug
Yeah,
Administration.
yeah. I was saying FDA. You said FTC.
Federal Trade Commission.
Okay, what
You
are
threw me
you?
off there.
What are you scared will happen?
Consumer Protection Acts.
Yeah. See, I feel I don't need protection.
So what if, like, you have someone you hire to do work on your house and they mess up your house, and then they're like, "No, the company can just do whatever they want. You're not protected." Businesses are protected more than the person.
Okay, but why is it the government's job to protect me from them?
Well, no, there's laws in place that you can then sue.
I know, but you're
and
saying the Heritage Foundation will come in and get rid of those laws, right?
they'll relax the laws and put more protections for businesses and
Okay,
less protections
so
for the consumers.
I'm going to the deep fundamentals here. Why ought the government protect me from those people?
They don't really protect you. They create kind of an arena with rules that they have to play within.
I know, but why ought they do that?
Because I like getting work and knowing that I can sue somebody if there's a problem. It's like, why ought the government make sure there's no rat poison in our soda? Why can't we just look to see if there's rat poison?
Okay, but part of the deal is that when you hire a contractor to come and do work, you can still check their licenses and that sort of thing, and you can check their reviews. You can check. Most of the time, it's referral of mouth. Hey, you've worked with that guy before? Yeah. How did he do a good job? Yeah. Is he honest, trustworthy? Yeah. Okay, then I'll hire them. So, I mean, this whole idea of protectionism against the little guy. For people like you, I question, why is that the government's responsibility to protect you from these people and not, let's say, you do things to protect yourself? Like, you can have your own insurance, where if they do some terrible work that your insurance kicks in, or you have local laws, state laws, the Better Business Bureau, that sort of thing.
But that's the government again, and I think you and I both
Well, yeah,
know
that's governments, but not federal. You're worried about the Heritage Foundation. You thinking they're going into state governments too?
No, I don't think they're going into state governments.
Okay, so yeah, we're talking about the federal thing. So now, in general, I still think some of these ideas that you're bringing up are good, but this is why I asked the question: do you think the Heritage Foundation, number one, you're assuming they're going to take control, and number two, they could gut it, as you said, or they could just get rid of some of the inefficient legislation and reduce it. And for someone who leans left, anytime regulations are removed, it's like fear strikes their heart and their mental anguish goes up. But maybe there's a good reason for it. Maybe it's like an old law that's outdated and doesn't even apply anymore.
There was a while back, there was 2 earthquakes. It was like in Peru, and in Haiti. One of them was Haiti, I remember, and one of them was in maybe Peru or Dominican Republic. And they looked at the damage these earthquakes did because they were the same magnitude. And in the one place, there were building code regulations about what could be used and what kind of materials the buildings had to be made out of. And buildings weren't falling in on themselves. And I think it was in Haiti, It was the same magnitude earthquakes, and all the buildings were collapsing. People were dying in buildings. The death toll was way higher. You probably remember these earthquakes. And so one thing that was pointed out is the one place, I can't remember the other place right now, had regulations. And I agree, we maybe have too many regulations at times, but there are regulations we need, and we don't just go about needlessly cutting regulations. Trump was so happy about all the regulations he cut. You know what? I want big building regulations. I want those. I want food
and I do too. Like,
regulations.
but again, you're assuming that if Trump wins, A, that the Heritage Foundation is going to take control, and B, that they're actually going to do a bad job.
Well, it's not really, and just to clarify, and I'll let you go here in a second. Thank you for your time, Doug. But I don't think it's like Heritage itself taking control. Multiple people, J.D. Vance wrote, I think the person who wrote the foreword for his book works at the Heritage Foundation. Heritage has also been noted to be kind of picking J.D. Vance. They are very linked to the Trump organization, such that many people throughout Trump's administration are there. Also, they have people who are going to go on to it. If you look at have you watched the videos? There are videos rolling out for the next administration. You should watch those because they talk about coming into the next administration. Like they have a team ready to go. And then Trump's spoken at their events. Trump says that Heritage has a good group of people working on the next administration.
I understand, but do you honestly think that members of the Heritage Foundation want building contractors to build homes in, let's say, earthquake areas in California that will not withstand an earthquake? Like, do you think they're okay with that?
I can tell you what I think they want. The answer is no, but I'll tell you what they want.
Okay.
They want to talk to businesses, take money from businesses, and then structure government that benefits businesses and just take money. They want money. It's all about money.
What do you mean, like, personally?
So they go to
want
businesses.
To take money?
What Heritage would do is they go to businesses and they say, what do you want us to do? Business says do this. Business gives money to their candidates, gives money to Heritage. Then they do what business asks, repeat the process.
Okay, you're talking basic lobbyists.
Yeah, basic lobbyists, exactly.
Which has happened for decades, but you just think it's going to be worse now.
And I will say this, so I'll end with a nice thing for you. Did you see, was it the Menendez guy for the Democrats who had the gold bars?
No.
Oh, you didn't see Jon Stewart? Watch the Jon Stewart segment. The guy literally had gold bars, and he was saying he wasn't bribed, but they literally found gold bars on him that he was bribed with. So the Democrats suck too, Doug. So I'm not happy with the world.
Okay. Well, but
yeah.
This is why you call into my show, because it can give you some joy.
Yes.
That the Heritage Foundation is going to take over and you're going to end up dead.
No. Okay, wait. Okay, you can't end with that because here's what's going to happen if Trump wins. You ready? I'm going to tell you my world if Trump wins.
Okay, crystal ball time.
Okay. Trump wins. He comes in January. I get up. I eat breakfast. I go to work. I say this sucks. And then I go about my life. And then things slowly change over time. Do they change to as bad as I think they are, or will change to? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe Trump will do things I never expected. Who knows? But life will go on. You
realize that there's been people who've been fearful of governments in the United States for decades, right? For centuries even.
Oh, yeah. I remember Bush.
Like the kind of fear that you're talking about right now, or the fear of change, you kind of sound like a conservative, really.
Well, but I think no one has ever talked about gutting all the federal administrations. No one's talked about removing all these people and installing just loyalists. Like this is a major change.
Like I sometimes wonder what would happen if Trump wins. Let's say you're right. The Heritage Foundation guts 80%. They go Elon Musk on the federal government. Can you imagine the shock you would have if things just keep working fine?
Well, then I'd be happy to be proven wrong. Maybe we, beat climate change. And I do want to say this though. Trump keeps complaining about windmills. He should look at high-rise buildings. Those kill more birds than windmills. So I just don't think Trump is a facts guy. He's more of a feelings guy to me. And this whole implosion after J.D. Vance, J.D. Vance.
Implosion? What are you talking about, implosion?
Oh gosh, J.D. Vance is the implosion of Trump's campaign. He dressed in drag, which I'm all for, but he called Trump Hitler. He believes Trump's accusers.
Why do you view that as a negative?
No, I think it's
great. I mean, I'm not saying Hitler's positive, but I'm saying the reason why Trump picked him get, like, do you think Trump was unaware of these things?
No, they had a plan, but their plan revolved around going against Joe Biden.
They're trying to appeal to people like you who say, well, if J.D. Vance can change his opinion on Trump, then you can.
I think J.D. Vance is a spineless coward who sold out for money.
He served our country.
And I'm very thankful.
He went to war,
never-
unlike Waltz.
Well, you know what I won't do? I won't go to Arlington National Cemetery and start doing photo ops in front of dead soldiers' graves. You gotta admit those. Did you not see those photos with Trump with the?
Yeah, I saw that. But why is that bad?
Because there's areas in Arlington where you are not supposed to take photos. They were actually kind of confronted and told you are not supposed to be here taking photos. It's a kind of sacred.
Were they in that area?
Yes, apparently, according to news reports, they were in those areas. They brought media into
news
these areas.
reports. We both know we can't trust the news,
except
for the news here.
I heard it on OAN. OAN was mad at Trump.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Doug.
Okay, see ya.
See ya.
Whoever was calling in earlier can call in now. I just don't get the fear. I don't get the fear from the right either when they say if Harris wins, the world's going to end, or the countries won't be able to handle it. I don't get the fear on either side. But, I'm different than most people. I'm more dead inside. Fear this, fear that. A good rule of thumb is that if someone tells you should be fearful of something, take your hand and clutch your wallet very tightly, because they want some of it.
And I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we
Okay, so if your values haven't changed, that means you're against fracking in your soul.
take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate.
Clear crisis. Okay. When I think of crisis, I think of like a very immediate term. Fahim Ali. Prince Ali. I hope you don't find that offensive, but my son does musical theater, and that's one of his favorites. Mine too.
That's good. Yeah.
We've talked before, right?
Yes, we have. Yeah, we have.
Okay. So, what are you thinking?
Oh, I just saw your I saw your review of the debate with Sam Shamoon and
Oh yeah, that was more fun than I thought it would be.
Yeah. I was it was quite funny. Yeah, because I saw the debate and then I saw your reaction.
Are you Muslim?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
So you probably liked it then, because I kind of gave them the win.
Well, yeah, because on the comments of the actual debate, it was mostly against Islam. So I was surprised to see you giving more points to Islam.
Well, here's the truth of it. Like, again, I think Islam is false and I think Christianity is false. But I just find it hilarious when Christians kind of go against Islam for things like Muhammad having a young bride or all the death and fighting and stuff, when the Old Testament's filled with that stuff. And then, of course, we'll say, well, God permits these things and so forth. But no, God, Yahweh legislated some of these things. Go kill the Canaanites, go do this, go kill the homosexual. So, yeah. And the Muslims were right in that debate that, well, if you think our Quran is bad and violent and all this, well, your Bible's bigger. And so you got more examples of it.
Yeah, you were right about it being basically saying, "Oh, your god's like worse than my god." Basically, that's kind
Yeah.
of what it was. But yeah, I mean, Daniel's debated a lot of other Muslims as well, like on that same platform. So like, there's some Muslims that have a problem with him. But
You know, Daniel is an interesting guy. How do you say his last name?
Hakikachu.
Can you do it again? But very slow. Like sound it out for me, like phonetically.
Yeah,
Haki
Kachu.
kachu. Haki kachu.
Yeah.
Haki kachu. That I love that name. Haki kachu. Right? Haki kachu. Yeah. He's an interesting guy because he shows no. He owns his beliefs. In a way, you got to respect that, and he doesn't try to make himself look good and palatable to the masses. No, this is what I believe. If you don't like it, go cry in your room for 2 hours. You gotta appreciate that.
Did you see his debate with Matt Dillahunty?
That's a long time ago, right?
Yeah, that was.
I think I did, but I don't remember it.
Oh
no,
yeah.
I do. Yeah, that's when. He talked about, is it rape to force your kids to go to school or something?
That's it.
Yeah, that was clever. And then he got Matt to admit that I think it's okay for kids to have sex, but he just wouldn't say it should be against the law. No, I forget. Yeah, don't quote me on
I think at one point he probably tried to bring in the whole like trans thing into it, like if it's okay for kids to get the surgery to transition.
I'm glad you brought up trans because I'm an expert in that. So.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, I guess I just don't really understand it too much, so I don't really, discuss it all that much. But
are there are you in the US, UK?
I'm in the UK right now.
UK, okay. I'm assuming there's not too many openly trans people in, let's say, Saudi Arabia or Pakistan or Iran or Syria or Jordan.
No, but I do know, like, in like India and even Bangladesh, there'll be like some trans communities where they kind of just like rejected by society, so they're kind of like outcasts, which I don't think is good, but. Obviously, the stigma is really bad over there, so they're kind of just by themselves.
Yeah, sort of like me, what I go through. Like I work for myself, and I'm one week, I realized I hadn't left the house all week. Can you imagine that? Like the whole week went by, and I just worked, and oh wow, I took the dog for walks, but I hadn't gotten in my car. See, I'm an environmentalist. I love the planet, and so as much as possible, I don't do anything. I mean, I try. I even hold my breath sometime to save the planet. What do you think about the environmental stuff?
Oh, I mean, I think we should do what we can to, protect the environment. We discussed this last time, but I'm a vegan, so
Guess what?
Yeah.
You're not going to believe this. I'm on a vegan diet right now.
Really?
Well, I should be careful because there's probably, like, I'm not anal about it, so there might be. So I'm definitely on a vegetarian diet right now. I'm on day 4 or 5 because I'm experimenting. I have some pretty bad acid reflux, so I'm experimenting to see different foods.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyhow, I'll let you go. There's another guy who wants in. Morty is calling in. Well, was there something else you wanted to ask or say?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess about the vegan diet. Like, how's it going? Like,
I actually think I think I feel a little better, but it's too soon to tell.
Yeah.
So I'll keep plugging away.
Because I remember you made a bet with me, and you said that like I'd eventually leave veganism. That's what you
said. Yeah.
But,
was there a time frame on that bet? 10 years or something?
It might. Yeah, it was probably 10 years. Yeah, it's probably 10 years.
Yeah, you won't remember. I'll be dead by then, so you'll never collect. Yeah, thanks for calling in.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Morty.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're nice and loud and clear.
Great. Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Morten from Norway.
We talked before, haven't we?
We have not.
We have not. Okay.
No.
Okay. What would you like to talk about?
I actually didn't think you were going to answer, so I'm kind of surprised.
Why is that?
The stream was delayed, so I was sitting here relaxing, taking a cup of tea, and like thinking,
No, I saw your name pop up, and I thought, if there's anybody I want to talk to today, it's Morty from Norway.
Wow, that's great. I feel the same about you. So. But no, I've followed the development of the channel, and I was just curious if you've changed your views politically and how that happened.
No, I've been a conservative all my life.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I picked up some of the conversations lately with some of the people you're on stream with, and it seemed like they were unhappy with your political views, and it seemed kind of like they were ganging up on you a little bit.
Oh, I'm not a politician. I'm not here to gain votes or support.
No.
But I don't know what you're talking about. Where did you see this?
I saw a recent stream where you were streaming with Nathan, I think it was.
Oh, yeah. But you got to remember that that's a crazy channel.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really crazy. The cognitive dissonance, holding you to a higher standard of... It's very strange.
Yeah, there was like 5 of them and 1 of me, and I think it was unfair for them.
Yeah. It is odd.
You got to remember that a lot of them, it's common sense, really, that if you feel the world has kind of given you, shortchanged you, if you have some type of illness, if you need help in life, a lot of help, you're going to dislike guys like me.
Mm. Yeah.
And you're going to dislike the Republican Party because they're for smaller government, in theory, at least. And yeah, it's like, where's my safety net? I'm going to have mental anguish if I don't have a safety net.
Do you think that's what it is? Because I mean, there are some sick people or people who have issues, or conservatives and on the right. And
yeah, but my stance is that that society should encourage this hierarchy, and the hierarchy is moms and dads out there listening. Your kids are your responsibility to the day you die. If you have a 45-year-old child and you're 65, 70 years old, and they go into hard times, guess what? Still your responsibility to take care of your 45-year-old. This is how far I go with this. And then community, neighborhoods, neighborhood charities, state, and lastly, federal. Federal should always be the last resort for things like that. Now, when it comes to Norway having a nuclear bomb and trying to bomb the United States, then, the federal government, that they're the first, the hierarchy changes on certain issues. I don't think individuals should own nuclear bombs, but...
I agree. But yeah, I am a father. I have 2 kids, and
do you agree with me then?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I hold similar position to you, and
good.
I don't really differ from your views in any way, but
it's encouraging to hear other people have the correct worldview.
Yeah, hold the right opinion. But yeah. No, it is very strange here in Europe. I'm sure you've heard of our politicians and the way our politics is going. It's very much almost like communists.
Yeah, and you have some border problems too, right?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yes, we have mass immigration into Scandinavia and changing our societies very quickly. Massive violence. Went from well, I'm sure you knew. I mean, you're old enough to remember how it was basically like Sesame Street or like fairy tale land. It was like whenever it was a crime, maybe once a year, someone stole something from a store and it was in the news, big shocker. Now it's like daily stabbings, daily shootings, grenade attacks, and thousands of people being assaulted.
But even though America's changed a lot, America is very different than Europe, and there's what I call a lot of good old boys. And if things get to be like Europe, where immigrants are stabbing people or whatever, and if the police can't keep up or not doing their job, like most Americans have guns, and people will start to die. They'll just be shot, and that's that. And so if immigrants don't shape up, and if the bad ones and commit crime, they'll just be shot in the head.
Yeah. We have assaults there too, and burglaries and people breaking into homes, and owning guns for us is illegal, so we can't protect ourselves. But the criminals have guns, so it's like California in the US, where they can harm us, but we can't defend ourselves. And if you defend yourself, you're going to jail.
And the thing is, like, with knives now, like a lot of the crime is done with knives. Like, are they going to ban knives?
Exactly. Yeah. And when they started doing the truck attacks, running over crowds with trucks, that really accented or highlighted this issue where, well, what if they all just start running us over with trucks? What are you going to do?
Ban trucks?
What is your liberal solution to this problem?
Yeah, it's very hard for some people, especially very compassionate people, to understand that, no, some people are bad people.
Yeah.
And some people are not as good as other people.
Yes.
And these bad people have to be dealt with, or not let into your country.
And it is also your right, or, I mean, you found a nation and you elect a government to manage services in your country. You don't give that government the right to take away your right to defend your family. That is like a primary right to have, the right to live safely.
Yeah, it's very primal. It's like you see it in all animals. Yeah. But what's the temperature in Norway today?
Cold. We have 2 months of summer, and the rest of the year we are freezing our butts off. It's like 12 degrees Celsius.
12 degrees Celsius. That's 58, 60 degrees Fahrenheit, that's my guess.
I have no idea.
For the people from Kansas listening. No, it's probably colder than that. Yeah, it's probably 50.
It is very cold.
Yeah. Anyhow, well, thanks for calling in, Morty.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're right about most things.
Glad you are too.
See ya.
See ya.
Okay, who was next? Leroy.
Hello.
Hi, Leroy. Welcome.
What's up?
Probably my cholesterol, but we'll see. I got a doctor's appointment in a few weeks. Did you just wake up?
No, I've been working all day.
Oh, what do you do for a living?
I just wanted to ask you a quick question.
Okay.
What do you think about chicks with dicks?
Oh, I kind of knew you were going to say something like that. It's not for me. I'm a vagina guy.
Are you?
Yeah. Are you?
The way you sounded hesitant.
Hey, you're not Leroy.
What do you mean?
I think I recognize your voice.
Hi.
How's it going, Tom?
Who the fuck is Tom?
You're not Tom?
I don't know who Tom is.
You're Leroy.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my God-given name.
You really sound like a friend of mine, but anyhow.
Yeah, I'm actually Tom. What's up, man?
See, I knew it.
Yeah, you got me.
But you changed your voice on purpose a little bit in the beginning, and then you kind of lost it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, I was meaning to ask you. You debated someone on the Shroud of Turin, right? recently. But for some reason, was it on your channel?
No, it was on my buddy's channel.
Can you link it here? I want to watch that.
You can look it up on YouTube.
I did, but I looked up Tom
Well, I can
Rabbit
tell you the
Shroud.
just look up big fat black dicks on YouTube. It should pop right up.
You're funny.
It should like autofill because I'm sure you've looked it up before. But
No, seriously, I want to watch it. What's the channel name?
dude, I'm gonna be like 100% honest with you. I'm not Tom. I don't know who the fuck you're talking about.
You sound just like him.
Okay. Well, I put him in the same room as me. I mean, you'd be able to tell a difference.
Tom Rabbit, are you there?
Yeah, Tom Rabbit, are you here?
Call in. In fact, actually, you know what I can do? I can bring up his channel, and you let me know if you think you sound like him.
All right, let's do it. I'm just
Although-
killing time anyways.
Although you're going to have to hear it through the replay, so you're going to have to jump off.
Just link it in the chat. Just like post a link to it in
Okay.
the chat, and I can view it instantly.
Although
Or just play it, and I'll view the replay.
some of the
whenever you want.
videos he doesn't even talk in, so you know what? Forget about it. But look it up on your own and see if you
What
can
is
find
it? Tom Rabbit?
Yeah, you sound just like him.
Okay, hold on.
But anyhow, I got another
We have
caller. Thanks for calling in. East of Maine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, great. Hey, I don't know if this has been brought up before, I'm sure it has, but I was kind of wondering about the, abortion kind of being a Republican seeming to want it being decided by the states. You know what I mean by that?
Yep. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, so I kind of have a trouble with it because if many, especially kind of evangelicals, kind of see that as murder, why on earth would they ever be okay with it being decided state to state?
They're not okay with it. I mean, they're not okay with states deciding things opposite of what they believe, but they still think it should be a state issue rather than a federal.
Right, but I mean, if it's, I mean, imagine if it was, the law was some states are completely fine with killing toddlers. Other laws are completely, or other states are.
Did I lose you?
Yeah, I lost you. You're quiet there.
Yeah. You said some states might say that it's okay to kill toddlers, and then you broke up. Or was that all of it?
I mean, yeah. I mean, just take it to that extreme. I mean, if you really think if it's equivalent, then how on earth can anybody be satisfied or okay with every state kind of making that decision on their own?
Well, I think on certain very controversial issues, states already do this on certain things. It's down to a referendum. And so making it a state issue makes it more like a referendum rather than a representative republic.
Yeah, so same thing for any kind of like slavery or like civil rights issues then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would be better if we kind of left it kind of back how I mean, excuse my ignorance on it, but I think at one point wasn't it state to state on as far as the rights that blacks have, correct?
Yeah.
It should be that way again then.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, yeah, I'm not putting words in your
Yeah.
but would that be good or bad and why?
My opinion on it is that if, let's say, there's certain states that disagree with other states, and that they disagree enough and that they are willing to go to war for it, then they go to war for it. That's just life.
So then it would be okay to kind of go back to that, the states having say in like the civil rights stuff.
Me personally, I would say no. But if someone disagreed with me and I disagreed with them greatly enough that we can't negotiate, then you have a civil war.
Yeah, and we don't want that, obviously. And
Right.
could we see that potentially happening with the
With abortion?
Sure.
I don't think so. I think because something like 69% of the American public have basically the same stance as I do on it, that up to, let's say, 10 weeks, 15 weeks in there somewhere, abortion is bad, but not really that bad, so they allow it. And then after that, most normal human beings say, yeah, then the rights of the mother kind of diminish as the rights of the fetus/baby grows, and so then it becomes very icky. So I think most reasonable Americans are actually agreed on it. So I don't think abortion will ever become like a Civil War type issue. Now, there's going to be states that will still have very tight restrictions and other states that will have very loose restrictions.
Yeah, and sorry, I keep kind of going back to like the civil rights thing, but I guess the same thing, right? Some states say that yes, there can be interracial marriage, and then other states saying no, there can't be.
Right.
And I guess what do we do with the people that live in those states that they can't, but they want to?
They want to what?
Interracial marriage. Be married interracially.
Well,
and they live in a state that they can't.
Then I would say move to a state that you can.
They don't have the resources to do that.
Well, then they have to follow the law.
And
or go to jail.
Yeah. And I guess
it's not that complicated.
It's not that complicated, but that doesn't sit well with me. I think that they should have the right to do those things.
See, the reason why, like a lot of people in Europe, for example, they view the United States as not that it's so big and so powerful that it's really 50 different countries, or maybe let's say 20 different countries within one country. And so if you view it that way, like imagine the state of Georgia and the state of California, they're very different, right? Very different states. Just imagine them as different countries with their own laws, with their own culture. That's basically, on the abortion issue, that's how you kind of have to view it. And if the people within Georgia want to get an abortion and they can't, well, you live in a country, in quotes, that doesn't allow it, so you got to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make arguments. You got to try to convince people.
Mm-hmm.
But except the things you can't control.
Yeah,
I'll make a judgment, very harsh judgment thing here. For smart, educated people, abortion is not an issue. Like personally, like there's very few unwanted pregnancies amongst people who are reliable, responsible. Like people who have sex outside of marriage and outside a committed relationship, who are smart, intelligent, educated, they will have two forms of contraception.
Sure.
And even when those fail, they'll have a backup plan and they'll know exactly what they're going to do, where they're going to go. And so the issue then with abortion is to get everybody to be smart on this issue and be very careful. Like if you live in a state where abortion's very hard to get and you're having unprotected sex and you don't want a baby, I'm a pretty far right-leaning guy and say that's on you.
As long as that contraceptive is readily and easily accessible to them, correct?
Correct, but to me, in the United States, in the year 2024, condoms are what, 25 cents each? Like if you're not at least wearing a condom or demanding a condom be worn, and then you worry, and then you say my state doesn't allow abortion, and you're having unprotected sex. I mean, I lose respect for you.
Yeah. I actually have, it's been a while since I thought about this, but I had this idea back in high school, and that was well over 20 years ago now. But a couple ideas for that is the first one is to perfect the vasectomy reversal. Get that down to like as close to 100% as we can. And then at the age of 12, 13,
careful,
boy.
I know where you're going with this.
There you go. Gets that done, and then when they're ready, they can have it reversed. Yeah,
this is. I've made similar suggestions, but then people accuse me of endorsing eugenics.
Sure, and and it can be optional. It's not mandatory. But then also, we could do something a little bit different and just say, we will incentivize those who do get a vasectomy.
Yeah, pay them.
Yeah, that's right. $1,000 cash.
Yep. In fact, you could do that with illegal immigrants. That would help solve the problem.
The vasectomy for them, or?
Yeah, like if you're going to take in, let's say, low-skilled illegal immigrants who you're really not sure what you're getting, from a country where it doesn't have background checks and that sort of thing, make it a law that they have to be sterilized as soon as they come in the country.
Yeah, and like of course you're going to have people that are, down on their luck or make a kind of a rush decision and take that $1,000. But the people that are, like you said, smart, educated, think things out, would go, I think I want to have a family someday. I don't think that's not worth it to me.
Yeah, the problem is we have the smart, educated people are the ones not having kids, and the lower educated, stupid people are the ones who are. And so we're creating that movie, Idiocracy.
Yeah. Right. I have switch topics real quick if you got time.
Yep.
So what do you think about the like when I really dumb down the election and just kind of think of it more as like a job hiring process, and you got two people applying for the same job, and you bring them in for an interview, you sit down, talk with them, both of them, they did okay, they do okay. Hey, let's look at their past work performance. Not too bad. They've both done okay.
Then you always go with the black one.
Right. And then you do your due diligence and you do their background check and hey, let's check with their former coworkers and see what they have to say. And when I get to that point on this election, I see a lot of Trump's former coworkers saying, do not hire this guy. We think he is not good for the job. I guess how do we overcome that?
Easy. It's a value assessment. So you look at what you value and you compromise on the things that you don't like in the candidate.
Okay, so we believe them, we trust them when they say, don't hire this guy. We think he's not the right candidate, the right person for the job.
No, I don't believe them on that because they don't know my values. So, for example, if I truly believe that Trump is better on immigration, and in fact, the majority of the nation agree with me on that, as I have a very mainstream view on immigration, that Trump is better on immigration than the Biden or the Harris administration would be. If that's your belief, nobody can see the future, but if that's your belief, and if that issue is a main issue for you, doesn't have to be a single issue, but one of the main ones, then if one of Trump's friends says, don't vote for him, he's whatever, X, he's not trustworthy or whatever, you'll say it doesn't matter what they say.
Okay. Would it sway either way if some of those former coworkers said, oh, that immigration issue, this is actually why we think he actually wouldn't be good at it, and they kind of explain why that still wouldn't be.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, we have real hard data on this, and you can just look at the amount of getaways, illegal immigration crossings during Trump's administration, because we have history, we have data on Trump actually being president, and then we can compare that to the Harris administration and say, oh, bad here, good there.
And you probably know this better than I do. It sounds like you do. What are the crossings at now compared to like when Trump left office? Are they higher now or lower? Do we know?
Well, after Biden implemented the the Uber pricing of unlimited amounts crossing per day down to if it gets over 5,000, then it drops to 1,500 for a certain amount of time, and then it jumps back up to 2,500, I think, per day. Something like that. And when Trump was president, let's see if I can bring it up. but it would still, like, I've heard people make some claim that, or in fact, Biden himself made a claim, which I think was a lie, but it depends on what he means. He said that the amount of people crossing today is lower than when Trump left office. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I think I've heard something similar. I just don't know.
Now, I don't know if he looked up the stats for that day and compared it for the single day of Trump's presidency. He could have been telling the truth that that's what he meant. But if he means like over a span of a month or 2 or 3, I don't think that's true.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I guess we could look at like, January of 20 or 21 or December of 20 compared to, July, August of this year, right? Would probably be a decent metric or not really.
Could be. But do you, like, is there a part of you that thinks that the Biden-Harris immigration wasn't as bad as Trump's?
No, definitely something changed. I don't know what contributed to that. Was it some of their decision making? I'm sure it is. Did COVID have something to do with it? Maybe. I don't know. Economy issues. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I do know. I'll make that claim that I think I do know what caused it, at least contributed greatly to it. And that is, you have a president during the 2019 Democratic debate saying we need to surge the amount of immigrants coming to this country because we need them for Social Security and a tax base and all that. He basically sent a signal out that we're open for business to immigrants. And then on day one, when Biden won, he made more pronouncements, like the DACA. Have you heard of that? Deferred Action for Children. That's another signal, like, bring your kids, like, because even if you leave, we'll probably keep your kids here and they can grow up in America. It's signaling this open arm type thing. Another one is Remain in Mexico was cut off, and a lot of other executive actions that Trump took that Biden could have taken, he reversed what Trump did. He eventually went back to some of the things Trump did because of the public outcry.
Then that's good, right?
Yes, that's good.
Yeah, and they would never say this. They would never say, "Hey, we made a mistake with our what we did at the border." But they might think that in their heads or talk about it behind closed doors. And they said, "We made a mistake. We made some pretty poor decisions. Let's maybe get together with a group of conservative Republicans and see if we can come up with a bill, a plan, and try to get it through."
Yeah, this is another common thing that people talk about. Number one, there was a lot of Democrats who weren't happy with that bipartisan bill because they thought it was too strict or too whatever. And of course, there's a lot of Republicans who didn't agree with it. So basically, it was a bill that nobody was really happy with. Would have made things better, maybe. But the thing is, if you have a bill and you don't enforce it, the bill becomes so what? If you don't actually act upon the bill, it becomes a so what bill. We have legislation already on the books that says if you cross this line in the sand, you've committed a crime. A lot of people don't even admit this. It's very hard for them to admit it, but it's a crime. It's Section 8, 1325 of the immigration INS, and it's like you cross that line, you're now a criminal, a federal criminal, and if you want to come to this country, you have to go through the port of entry. If you any other way, you're a criminal. And if you enforce that, then basically that huge uptick that we see in the graphs would not be there. You don't need any new bills. You might need more manpower, but for some reason we had enough manpower when Trump was president. And again, I think it's because of that signaling that Biden did, saying, "Hey, come on down." And so, yeah, Biden even has the authority to put troops on the border. Don't need a bill for that. And there should have been people there with their hands out, pushing people back over into Mexico. And in fact, don't even let them cross that line.
Yeah, but isn't a bill more strong? Like an executive order could just be taken away when the next guy comes in office, right?
Yeah, but this is the difference between left and right on this issue. The people on the right side of the aisle, they see someone bleeding and they think the first thing we need to do is get a bandage on it and wrap it tight. For someone on the left, when they see someone bleeding, now this analogy is not perfect, but they're thinking, okay, what is the reason that they're bleeding? We need to conquer the reason for the bleeding, and then we can really stop the bleeding. So both are not wrong. Both are correct in their thinking. However, I think the immediate solution is get that bandage on and wrap it on tight. That's akin to seal the borders first. Don't let another breathing soul across. Don't let them utter the words asylum seeker. And then have them go through the port of entry. And then once you've got that taken care of, once you've sealed the bleeding, then you can start talking about what's the underlying causes. Can we make the system more efficient to get visas and so forth?
Yeah, and your point about a lot of Democrats didn't like that bill. A lot of Republicans didn't like that bill. I kind of think that makes it a good bill, right?
Yeah, if everybody's unhappy, I get what you're saying, because if everybody is a little bit unhappy or a little bit happy, then it's a good compromise. But my point is this: there was no compromise even needed to be done, because Trump didn't have that bill. Right?
Right.
So why is it? What's your guess? Like you mentioned COVID, but do you think people what does COVID have to do with the huge influx? Like I know Title 42 stopped, but you could still. There was no Title 42 before COVID, and we didn't have a huge influx of immigrants.
I mean, I don't know. I'm really just, speaking off the cuff. I really haven't given it a ton of thought, but, potentially, I don't know what was happening, how COVID affected some of those other countries and their economy and their working. And maybe they saw that, there's still some work happening in the U.S. and there's still ways to make money in the U.S. Let's head there. Again, I'm just kind of speaking off the cuff. I really don't have anything to say.
Well, that's definitely I think a lot of people just came across, claimed asylum, and they just want a better life and make more money and send it home. But for example, this is what the evil Ted Cruz said in the Congress or in one of the committees. This is real data. Known gotaways at southwest border by year. So green is Trump, orange is Biden. Do you see that?
Obviously I'm behind a little bit, so.
Well, no, you can see it right in the whereby.
Oh, I don't know how to do that. But I see it.
Yeah. So how do you explain that? There's definitely something Biden did, or I believe it's something Biden did or didn't do to explain that.
Mm-hmm. And I think it was it was lower under Obama, right?
No, it was about the same. Obama was really, he was pretty good on immigration.
Right.
Some people think that this is a right and left thing on immigration, but really it's not. It's a Biden-Harris thing versus everybody else.
Well, let's not elect Biden then. I don't like that.
Well, you got to remember Harris was the border czar, right?
Well, of course, he gets away from that by saying no. I was, way down. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I got some other pictures here. It's just crazy.
Hey, tell me how do I, if you have a chance, how do I watch it on the whereby?
Well, if you can find your whereby tab, you just open that tab.
I'm using the app.
Which app? The whereby app?
Yeah.
But do you even see my face through whereby?
No, it's little.
Are you using an Android?
I'm seeing a Looks like you're Elmer Fudd or something.
Are you using an Android?
Nope. Apple.
Oh, yeah, I can't help you with Apple. But yeah, anyhow, known gotaways, the number of crossings, just everything went like exponential after Biden took office.
And then it doesn't sound like we have the numbers, but let's say that now that's been corrected. It's been shifted. It's much lower now. It's lower now than it was at the end of Trump's term.
Where do you get that from?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
Oh, you just don't think that's true?
No.
If it is true.
Yeah, if it is true, then that's a great improvement. But then the question is this: why didn't he do that 3.5 years ago or 3 years ago?
Yeah, I don't know.
And if he could have done it 3 years ago and didn't do it 3 years ago, do we have the? Is it okay to blame the administration for not doing it 3 years ago? And if it's true, like I brought up, I don't know if you saw it because I did it one of the first things. If it's true that the illegal immigrant costs about $9,500 a year per immigrant of U.S. tax dollars, is that good? No. So letting in millions of people, costing us $9,500 a pop. This is even after we take into account the taxes that they pay in, because most of them are lower skilled, have families, or some of them have families. There's actually a lot of single guys. Actually, if I was in charge, I wouldn't let single men between 18 and 28 cross, or 16 and 28. I'd say no. They might be cheaper as far as, they don't have families to take care of, but the risk of, like, if 7% or 5% of them are pretty hardcore criminals, to me, I'd sacrifice the 95%, say, no, you can't come across for the 5% that could do some real harm.
Yeah, and I thought I've heard before that they commit less crime than American citizens. Is that right? Or?
No, it's about equal. But the thing is, the data is from a lot of the data is from the past. And in my opinion, this is such a political issue. If you even actually produce data that makes immigrants from third world countries look bad, you can be called a racist. And so, this is a fact. Like, people do that. Like, you're xenophobic or whatever. And so this is so politically charged that I find it even hard to trust the data. But if you go back decades, it's about the same. But the point still remains: if we have a border and we can adjudicate criminals from non-criminals, or most likely to do harm in society versus most likely not to, why not do it? Why not just say, here's the default position. The default position is nobody gets in. Nobody. And be harsh and say, we rather just let you die. Okay, that's the default position. We're willing to let you die dead on the Mexican side. But we are compassionate and merciful, so you go through the port of entry. We will adjudicate you, make sure you're most likely not a criminal, most likely healthy, most likely being a productive member of our society, maybe even can be willing to speak English or learn English if you don't currently. Make sure you're not associated with organizations that are hateful to America. Like, adjudicate all these things, then let them in. That's what happened to me. I'm an immigrant. They asked me.
Wasn't that part of their bill, to have more judges to do that?
Well, to have more judges, yeah. But what I'm saying is, there is no right of anybody on the planet to live outside the United States to live in the United States, unless you're a citizen or a permanent resident, naturalized resident. And so basically, my view is, you tell everybody in the world, no, you're not getting in. It doesn't matter if you're being persecuted, if whatever, you have no right to live here. It's a privilege to live here. And then, so you have to do it the legal way. We have laws. You come in through the port of entry. We do background checks and all these things. And if necessary, we'll make you wait in Mexico until we adjudicate it. Now, the bill that gets more judges and more officers and so forth, that's just an efficiency thing. But I'm saying the root the root problem here is this idea that, oh, we got to save everybody. No, we don't.
Yeah, but then wouldn't we see an increase in crime? I thought there's been a decrease in crime the last few years.
Yeah, certain crimes in certain cities, but you got to remember that that some of crime is not even being reported. Like for example, in California, you can now steal $949 worth, and it's not even reported.
Is it that it's not even reported?
Or sorry, that it's not being
not a felony.
Yeah, or not being charged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but anyhow, I gotta let you go. I got 2 other callers here.
Okay, thanks, Doug.
Yep.
Bye.
CJ.
Hello.
Hi there. How are you?
Good, good. Just a quick question. I won't waste too much time. I was wondering, I'm sure you've been asked this many times, but just to kind of get your opinion, because I've never heard it. In regards to, I know you said that your wife is religious.
Yes.
And your children are not.
Correct.
I'm guessing that's because you talked to them, maybe some street epistemology, showed them.
Actually, no.
No, really?
Yeah. My wife and I had kind of an understanding that I wouldn't push them into anything. She wouldn't push them into anything, but we would be open to answering all the questions that they could ask. And that's what happened.
And how does she look at you as being partly responsible for them being atheists?
She hasn't come out and said that, but I'm sure, and my kids actually don't call themselves atheists, but I'm sure she would think that that is a big reason. Because
I mean, I would imagine
they've asked me questions and I've answered them, and they probably said, "Oh, that makes sense." Okay.
And you've given them better answers than I'm sure she has given.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's just that, like my daughter, for example, talks a lot with my wife about religious stuff, and I think my wife has explained it as best she can, but my daughter just says, "No, that I don't buy it."
So I'm wondering, how does she look at it as you're not necessarily responsible, but if she's really a firm believer, she must think, well, how much have you talked? Like, she hasn't ever said, like, they're going to hell, Doug. What the heck? What can you not talk to them, or what should we?
My wife is actually pretty good in the sense that she trusts God, that God's sovereign and has things in control, and if maybe she's even a little bit Calvinistic in that way, that if my kids are meant to go to heaven, they're going to go to heaven. If our kids are meant to go to hell, they go to hell.
Wow, that's interesting. Huh. Yeah, I mean, my wife is very religious. I'm not, we'll put it that way. And she had something where she said, like, oh, well, if one believer believes, that covers the whole household, apparently.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Like, some people say that since I professed Jesus into my heart and accepted the gift, that even if like that it's a done deal, I'm going to heaven even though I have an atheist channel.
Yeah, that is strange.
Yeah.
But I guess it's a little cognitive dissonance in a way. Yeah, I mean, I see, that's the thing. We don't have kids, but I'm imagining if we did, it wouldn't, that would be something that would terrify her. Like, the children are going to hell and you're, coaxing them on, or at least being neutral to it and saying, well, you believe what you want, that's fine. I'm a fan of street epistemology and considering all those options and thinking, well, could it be true? But if they come to that conclusion, it's not true. Yeah, that's interesting how some spouses might look at that differently.
So your spouse is Christian?
Yeah.
Maybe try what I just said. Just if your wife ever says something like that to you, say, well, you believe God is sovereign? Yeah, she'll answer yes.
Mm-hmm.
You believe the verse that says all things work out for good to those who love, and do you love God? Yes. Well, just trust him then.
Yeah, if things are going to work out, that should entail them having some pleasant afterlife of some kind, I'd suppose.
And also maybe challenge your wife on whether, like, Christians disagree on what hell even is. Really challenge your wife on that and say, you know, there's a lot of people who love Jesus who say this idea of eternal conscious torment is not even scriptural.
I thought it was, no?
Well, I actually think that's the best interpretation, mostly because of the parable found in Luke. But I can understand people who say, well, maybe it's just separation from God. God's giving people what they want. Some people think it's you get punished a little bit and then poof, you're gone. I
remember something about brimstone and gnashing of teeth.
Yeah, that's eternal conscious torment. That's the most traditional view of hell. But a lot of Christians don't believe that.
Huh. She's Pentecostal, so I might have to look and find out if she even understands what she believes.
Yeah, Pentecostals are more about the experiential side of things. You know, having a hard day at work for the whole week and then going to church and laying it all out through tears and dancing and
tongues too. Can't forget the tongues.
yeah. Do you go?
Yeah, I've been to a few. Yeah, it's something else. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, that's where I met my wife.
I've seen a few. I've seen. Oh, you did really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Did she?
But my wife's not Pentecostal. We just happened both to go to this Pentecostal church and meet there.
Very different than like what I grew up with, like Catholic services, which is an ASMR whisper. Pentecostal, all of a sudden singing and dancing, and somebody drinking oil and puking and speaking in tongues and healings.
Yeah. Another thing you can ask your wife, say, like, before I met you, if a girl came up to me and said, hey, be with me and I'll give you paradise for the rest of your life. But if you reject me, you'll end up having the most pain and suffering that you'll ever imagine. And then ask your wife, would you think of that woman? And your wife will probably say, that woman is nuts, run away from her. And say, well, that's your God.
Oh, I'm going to be sleeping in the doghouse tonight, Doug. Oh, this is going to be bad. All right, well, I got to go. We'll see how this goes. I'll have to get back to you.
Okay, see ya. Jefferson! Jefferson, wake up! You're on. He's coming. 17-second delay.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
My biggest supporters here. You got to turn off the YouTube tab, otherwise you're going to get confused. Did you turn off the YouTube tab?
No.
Yeah, you're hearing yourself twice, aren't you?
I am hearing myself twice, but I don't see a YouTube tab where I can close that out. So
yeah, it's open though. It's somewhere. Close everything but the whereby tab. Otherwise you won't be able to talk to me without going crazy. Well, you'll go crazy either way. So, did you find it?
I think so. Yeah,
okay.
I think it's closed.
Okay, so why do you always make videos about me?
I don't always make videos about you. I just recently make videos about you.
You talk about me more than I talk about trans. There's a delay.
You said you were going to talk about trans more, so
yeah. Well,
I'm going to make more videos about you.
I can tell that there's still like a 5 or 10 second delay between us, maybe 5.
Oh, there might be. I don't see how there is.
Okay, I'm going to say a word, and then as soon as you hear it, you say it back at me. Dog.
All right. Doug.
Okay. 1 second delay. Okay, that's fine. What do you want to talk about?
No, I just figured I'd dial in because see what was going on if you wanted to chat with it about anything. I don't really have anything. I'd already done kind of a dissection of some of the stuff that you'd done.
I saw you were talking about me today. What on a live stream? What were you saying?
Well, it was about some of the live stream I think that you'd done in reaction to being on Nate's channel.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I haven't watched all of that yet. Somebody had sent me that. A couple sent me that link.
It's long.
That seemed like kind of a larf. So I was going to watch that. How did you feel about that? Like, because it seemed like they were trying to disabuse you of some size issue, some.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
Issues, but
it's one of those things where I felt fine on it. I think it was a very interesting array of people. But it's this thing that if you disagree with me, you're factually wrong. It's that type of attitude. If you're a right-winger, it means you're missing information. I actually think you think the same way.
I mean, you might be.
Yeah, you might be, or it might not, right? And it could be just a difference of opinion and values.
But you could be, yeah. I mean,
but I could not, right?
You could not, but you could be. So the
right.
idea, that's where I was like.
But do you think that someone could have a valid reason to, let's say, vote for Trump?
At this point, no.
Yeah. See, now you're different than me in the sense that I could say, based on someone's values, what they really care about, yeah, I can totally understand why someone would vote for Harris. Can you say that back at me?
No.
No. Yeah. See, this is very similar to when I say to Christians, stay a Christian. I'm okay with you staying a Christian, but the Christian could never say to me, stay an atheist, because they think there's so much at stake. I mean, there's hell, Doug. And so, no, I can't tell you to stay an atheist because you're going to be doomed if you stay an atheist. I think you have that same concept in your head. If you stay a right-winger, there's just so much at stake. If everybody votes for Trump, there's just so much at stake. I mean, it's almost like the same thing.
I don't care that they're a right-winger.
Okay, I mean, when I said right-winger, I mean voting for Trump.
I don't care.
What?
Like that that doesn't matter. That's not the issue. Right.
Okay, so you'd be okay with people voting for Trump if you don't care then?
Well, I mean, normally I'm not, because there's going to be an enormous number of people that are going to be voting for Trump anyway. But based on the example that you gave, the idea that, like, should we care about the number of Americans that, yeah, we should care about them, and we should care about the fact that they're doing that because they're voting for a fascist, right? So, right. I mean,
define fascist for me. What do you mean when you say that?
An individual that believes in the total control of the public good by private means.
Do you believe Trump believes that?
Yeah, I don't know if Trump is that clever enough to do that, but I think he's accidentally kneeling that way. Yeah.
Okay, do you think the Republican Party wants total control the way you defined it?
The Republican Party, no, because they obviously want some control, but yes, they do.
No, but yes?
I mean, because it sort of depends on how they.
Because you said total control. Fascists are ones who want total control of the populace, right?
Well, it's usually in the guise of some kind of like some kind of fascistic or kind of totalitarian regime, right?
Right. So, but wouldn't you say the Republicans are more for private sector over government?
Yeah, they are, but private sector being what? Right?
Like small businesses buying and selling goods.
And controlling the buying and selling of those goods.
Yeah.
How?
The way they freely want to do it.
Yeah. So
who's the more fascist then under your definition, Republicans or Democrats?
Well, that definition it doesn't actually apply to either, but currently, Republicans are more fascistic than Democrats.
Okay, you're confusing me. I really feel like you're contradicting yourself. Define fascism again for me.
To me, fascism is, well, I mean, if you look up the whole, like, Umberto Eco, 14 points or whatever, right, of fascism. Fascism is usually a cultural thing, right? So if you look those up, you probably get a pretty good idea of what fascism is.
Do you want me to look it up?
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
You should. Yeah, look up Umberto Eco's.
Is that that's the definition you're espousing?
Well, I think that's a good version to go with. Yeah, Umberto Eco's points of fascism. Yes.
Umberto Eco, a practical list for identifying fascists.
Yeah.
The word fascist is used with great ease and lightness in our own time. It's applied as a kind of a cult insult. Someone or something is fascist when trying to impose arbitrary laws or rules on others. In recent history, fascism was a mystical ideology and political movement, one founded by Benito Mussolini in Italy during the period between the two world wars. The question was taken up recently by deceased Italian who plunged into the word fascist to clarify some of its implications. Equal distinguished this, for example, from Hitler's Nazism, although he concluded that the fascist game can be played in many ways. The cult of tradition, the rejection of modernism, the cult of action for action's sale? Disagreement is treason, fear is difference, appeal is social frustration. Is this what you mean by fascism, all these things?
No, an appeal to social frustration.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Appeal to social frustration.
These are the 14 points that Umberto Eco laid out. It's being evidence of fascistic kind of tendency, and you can see this kind of stuff in like Trump's. So you can see this kind of stuff in a lot of political parties generally, but you can see more of them in Trump's.
Okay, so you're saying a lot of politicians are fascist, but Trump is even more fascist.
There are fascistic elements in most political movements, yes, but Trump's are specifically. They are more fascist than otherwise. The cult of tradition, the rejection of modernism, of action.
So Trump was president from January 20th when he was sworn in of 2017 through 2021. Do you think we were living in a fascist-like society when he was president?
No.
Why is that? Why weren't we?
Because he was checked.
He was checked. Okay. Do you think if he becomes president in the future that he will be checked?
No.
So something will change. Something has changed from what you think in the future compared to his last time. And that change is what?
The fact that a lot of the checks and balances that I think people would assume are there are not there anymore. Like, the
Supreme Court?
The Supreme Court or any of these other kind of things. Yeah.
Okay, but what if there's this November, what if the House is still 51-49 Democrats, and what if the Senate, and then what if the House is still Democrat? Isn't that enough checks?
Well, I mean, ostensibly, yeah, but I would imagine that even when it is that way, there will still be rioters freaking out about the fact that Trump has lost to Kamala Harris.
No, I'm
So
saying
we'll have to
I'm
see.
saying if Trump wins, those checks would still be in place. The Senate and the Congress, if they're run by Democrats.
Yeah.
So then that fascism of Trump would be in check.
It is fascism, yeah.
Yeah, but it would be in check.
No, it's not in check.
Like it would be, he wouldn't have full power because the Democrats would own the Senate and the House.
No, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't own the Senate and the House? I'm saying if they do own the Senate and the House, they could check him. They would.
Do you think that that's okay? So if Trump wins, do you think there's a legitimate way that Trump wins the White House, but Democrats win the Senate and the Congress? Do you think that's actually going to be a thing?
Well,
that's not going to work.
It's happened in the past, hasn't it?
It's not going to happen now.
You can see the future?
How would that happen given voter turnout? No.
So you're saying it's not possible that if Trump wins, the House and Senate could go to the Democrats?
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying it's unlikely.
Okay, and that's an opinion.
Unlikely that would happen.
It's an opinion in your view. Okay, but the thing still remains that if that were the case, this unlikely thing to the case, Trump wouldn't really be able to do much, right? Like this fascism, the very bad parts of fascism.
He would.
Even if the Senate.
I mean, do you remember when he tried to like ban people from coming to the country for being Muslim, per se?
Do you think that's true?
You
listen to the words. Listen to the words that you uttered. I'm going to repeat them back to you. Trump banned people for being Muslim.
That's not what I said. I said Trump banned people from coming here.
You said for being
because they're
Muslim.
Muslim.
Okay.
No, I didn't say that they were banned for being Muslim.
Hang on a second.
Hang on.
I'm rewinding the tape. The House and Senate could go to the Democrats. You listen to the word
from coming to the country for being Muslim.
I just listened to your own words. For being Muslim is exactly what you said the first time.
For being Muslim.
That's what you said. You want to retract that?
I guess not, but you seem to you seem to be very excited about turning it into what?
Do you think, my question is this, you said Trump banned people for being Muslim.
He did.
Okay, you're doubling down on that.
He banned people from coming over if they were Muslim.
Another way you could say that, or maybe I think the more accurate way of saying that is that he banned people from coming from Islamic countries that are hostile to the United States.
It didn't matter if they came from Islamic countries. If they were Chaldean and they came from Iraq, they were Catholic, right? They could come here fine.
Okay, are you saying that Trump allowed Catholics from Iran to come, but not Muslims from Iran?
No, not Iran. Iraq. Chaldeans.
Right. Okay. Are you saying
Chaldeans overwhelmingly vote in favor? He did. He did do that.
He did allow Catholics to come, but not Muslims.
Yes.
From Iraq.
Yes.
Okay.
So why should we allow that to be like a cool thing?
Okay. Well, would you be in support of allowing people, a Muslim, to come into this country who has publicly said death to America?
What does that have to do with what I just said before?
It's a new and interesting question.
That's one thing attached to another thing.
I'm asking you a new and interesting question. Would you allow a Muslim, if you had the power, to come into this country who has been on record as saying death to America?
I'm not sure. Like, what do you mean by that? It's like,
what I mean is this person hates America. And
when did they say it?
Let's say they said it 2 months before they plan to arrive.
In what context?
In the context of someone asked them, what do you think about America? And they said, death to America. I hate Americans and I want to kill them. I hope they all die.
A question. Okay, so they were being asked a question, like, do you like America? And they're like, no, fuck no.
This is okay. So the answer is no. You would not let them in.
I'm just wondering, like, if you
what?
Know what you're
is this
about.
A hard question for you?
I'm wondering if you know what you're talking about.
I'm asking you a question. I don't even have to know what I'm talking about to ask a question.
My man, here's the thing. Like, if I asked an Irishman, if an Irish person would burn down the entire island of Ireland in order to, like, justify their, like, political position, they'd probably say yes. Right?
Would you let?
So I wouldn't ask them that question.
Would you let a Christian in from Ireland who said death to America?
Would I let a Christian in from Ireland who said death to America? I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. I got a guy named William who wants to come in. Thanks for coming in, Jefferson.
Wait, I thought you wanted to... All right.
This is the insanity. The absolutely insanity of the left, of some people on the left, some progressives on the left. They can't even answer a simple question like that. Someone who hates America, hates Americans, utters 2 months before they plan to arrive, death to America. Question, if you were in control, would you let this person in? Watch how I answer it, Jefferson. No! No! You do not let them in. And it doesn't matter if they're Muslim or Christian if they say it. This is feel sorryforism to the nth degree. This idea that anybody can come to America. We shouldn't judge people, even if they say they want to kill us. Let them come in and maybe they'll make do on their word and kill us. But that's their right to kill us. What is wrong with people? William.
Surprised you let me in, Doug.
Hey, you know what, William? Compared to the last guy, I think I will like you a lot better.
I'll try to keep it meta, so you hopefully enjoy it a little more.
Sure, but not too meta, like not philosophy meta, please. Oh no, you're going to philosophy. Okay,
No, I was just curious. I saw you posted some more stuff on like the boxer issue.
Oh yeah. I was very proud of it. The one I did on rationality rules. I thought it was very clever. Did you see it?
Yeah, I think I did. I don't actually remember what it said, but I'm curious. Like, do you think there's a problem with her competing and winning?
If he/she is intersex or male, yes. If he/she is female, no. Because we got rules. We got to. In a society, if we don't have rules, we're just like the animals.
So I guess why? What's wrong with, like, if she was intersex or had elevated testosterone levels or something, what's wrong with her competing?
It's the fairness argument. The disparity between males and females is greater than the disparity between males or females. Did you get that?
So does that hold with, like take like bobsledding? Would you say like the U.S. shouldn't be able to compete against third world countries in bobsledding because there's such a great disparity, like they don't have the economic privilege?
No, I would make it simple. So males compete against males, females compete against females, intersex default to the male category, and anybody who doesn't like it can go to their room and cry.
Right, but it seemed like you were appealing to like a general, because it's not fair because of like birth situation, right? Like that seemed like the principle you were appealing to.
Yeah, birth situation, right? Yeah.
Right. So like a bobsledder that's born in, like Haiti, right? They're born into a situation where like they're never going to be able to compete with a bobsledder, like from the U.S. that's born into
Yeah, then they won't
upper
compete.
middle class family.
Yeah, in that situation, they don't have the means or access to learn or whatever. They don't have enough snow. Although there's a movie made about that exact situation. What's it called? Is that what you're referring to?
I wasn't referencing anything in particular. I mean, I know there's like the one swimmer that got destroyed because like they had one pool to train in or whatever. But they made the Olympics. But
there's a movie, I forget what it's called, but I think it's even Haiti or maybe Bermuda. I don't know, of bobsledders who actually won because they didn't practice on ice, they practiced on something else. But with bobsledding, it's all in the aerodynamics of the sled and then the first push. So that first push is really important. So if you're a male, you have an advantage on that first push compared to females.
Well, I could switch it to
Cool runnings. Thank you, Trevor. It's called cool running.
We can do Olympic long jumping if that'd make you feel better.
But let me ask you this. What is wrong with, here's my new idea, and I'll see what you think of it. Let's get rid of women's sports and just call it female sports. Because me as a trans expert, I understand the difference between social constructs and biology. Like most of the peasants out there in the world, they don't truly get it, but I do, and you do. And so instead of worrying about these social constructs and gender identity, let's keep it simple. Males compete against males, females compete against females. Just across the board. Well, it's very simple, straightforward. And so if we have a situation like you brought up Amani Khalif, if we have a situation where it's in question, is this a male or female, we do genetic testing. And then if the genetic testing comes back that Amani Khalif is female, we say, she's in female sports. Keep it simple. What's wrong with that?
I mean, I guess in my opinion, it makes more sense to not even base it off sex, just base it off of biological, like just have categories based on, essentially it'd be similar to sex, but it'd just be like biological birth lottery.
Okay. I want to show you something here. You see that little circled number? Oh, you probably can't. It says...
I can't make out what it says.
Yeah. It says 989. And I believe it's decigrams per deciliter. It's my testosterone level. On an average female, it's 50. Mine's at 989, or at least it was when this test was taken. Now, do you think that the disparity between a high testosterone female and a low testosterone female is anywhere near the disparity of a male and a female? Answer, no. This is why males compete against males, females compete against females. It's one of the reasons. The other reasons like lung capacity. There's many different factors. So if you give me the argument, if you say, Doug, there's some freaks of nature like Michael Phelps, like it's unfair for him to compete even against males because he's a freak of nature. But what I'm saying is that difference between Michael Phelps and the second place male, third place male, is way smaller than the difference compared to the average male in that sport compared to the best female. Men are so incredibly superior to women in athletic strength and speed compared to women. It's not even close. When women are winning in sports, it's because they're the most male-like. But they're still way different than males. Anyhow, does any of that resonate with you? I know I'm using very harsh language, but it's the truth.
Sure. I mean, I think like the principles you're appealing to all kind of fall apart. Like if you translate that to like economic, people born into different economic categories that they have no control over. It seems like then all of a sudden you don't care about all this fairness that you're supposedly talking about with males and females.
What? How does this relate to economics?
So basically what you're saying is like females, they lost the birth lottery. They're born into a worse situation in terms of competing in sports. So to equalize that, we separate them and we let them compete in their own Olympics.
Okay, I'm with you so
Then
far.
when the same thing happens with economics, right? Two people are born into completely different economic situations. One has no access to Olympic long jumping ski facilities, right? But then it seems like in that situation, you completely don't care that they were born into different situations that completely impact what kind of sports they can or can't compete in.
I'm still not quite following. So you're saying I should care because I care about the women, so I should care about them?
I'm saying you're appealing to like this, you want to equalize like people who lost the birth lottery because they can't compete. And in one case, you seem to really care about it. But then when it's economic, it seems like that goes out the window.
Okay,
and you don't care.
okay. One, I think I understand what you're saying now. One major difference in this analogy is we're talking about roughly 50% of the world is female and roughly 50% of the world is male. You're talking now about situations where we have maybe, I don't know, 10% of a certain population is in poverty and doesn't have access to certain things, let's say. But even of that group, there's even a smaller fraction who are even interested in doing it in the first place. I think that's where your analogy breaks down, but I'm still not convinced I understand your analogy. Like, there's definitely people who are born, I believe people are born stupid, more stupid than other people, or smarter than other people. I don't think it's all nature. I think a lot of it's nurture. And so if I was trying to steelman your position,
Look, I wouldn't say it's not my position. I'm just saying I think if you follow, like your principle seems to be with males and females, is there's like this inequality that happens at birth.
right?
And you want to fix that later on by categorizing sports in certain ways. But then when we take that principle of this birth inequality and translate it to other areas, like economic.
I'm okay with stupid people competing against stupid people in, let's say, math. I'm okay with that.
Right, but in that case, it seems like you don't care enough to like, let's let the stupid people have their own test grades so they can also get hundreds and, you know, get A's on stuff and test well. You know, it seems like in one case you really care about this fairness, and in other case, and basically virtually every other case where it's not a right-wing talking point, you seem to not care.
Right-wing talking point. Okay. Why do you think women's sports exist?
I mean, probably for like complex historical reasons.
Oh, complex historical reasons. Come on, William. No, just me and you here. Why do women's sports exist?
I honestly don't know. Like,
you don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, if you ask me like why do they exist now and they don't exist in like ancient Rome or something, I wouldn't be able to tell you why they exist in one context and not the other. That'd be like a
okay. I'm asking today. The year's 2024. Why do women's sports exist in 2024?
Because they existed last year.
See what I mean? See what I have to deal with, people?
Okay. You don't think that's the right answer?
No, I don't.
So what's the right answer then?
I want you to work a little bit. Guess what you think I'm going to say.
Legitimately, I don't know. I mean,
guess, predict.
But I honestly think that's the correct answer. I mean, I think you'll say it's like some abstract, like, oh, if people sat down and tried to form sports today or something, they would create this thing for fairness reasons or whatever. But that's clearly not why they exist today. They exist today because of inertia of them existing.
Okay, let me ask a different
year before that.
Let me ask a little slightly different question. Do you think women's sports ought to exist?
No, I think it should be like a almost like a wrestling, like a class-based thing.
Okay. So based on, not on sex, but on what?
I don't know exactly. I'm not sure. Like, it'd take a lot of sitting down and doing a lot of paperwork to figure out.
You know what?
But, I mean,
I appreciate your answer.
I'm fine with like video game matchmaking, right? Where like you just get matched up with people of relatively similar skill.
You notice what you just said? I asked you, do you think women's sports should exist? You said no, it should be based on other classes. I said, what kind of classes? And you said, well, I paraphrase you, it's complicated. I mean, it's hard. But guess what's not hard? Guess what's easier? Sex.
And do you think easy answers are preferable over correct answers, or?
It's very utilitarian of me, I know. But sometimes, if there's an easy way to do it, maybe you should do it. Why put yourself through all the turmoil of weight classes? Like, even, I admit, like, we have men's sports and women's sports, which I think should be male and female. But even within men's sports, we have categories. But you got to admit, that's more complicated than the very first step of separating men and women. See, I think people like you want to get rid of women's sports, and, well, there's probably many reasons for you. Did you ever play sports in high school?
Yeah, all through high school.
Which ones?
Football, and basketball, and track for just a year.
Okay. Are you a big guy? You sound like a big guy.
No, I was a linebacker, so like medium sized.
Okay. Do you think it is okay for you to have played football when you were in grade 12 against people in grade 6?
Grade 6? Probably not.
Why?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean by it.
William, don't do this. Don't do this. It depends what you mean by.
You're talking like competitive high school level football.
I'm saying we have, it's recess, and you're playing football in grade 12.
Oh, if it's recess, that's fine. Yeah.
You would say it's fine to play football.
Oh yeah, for sure. Recess.
As a person in grade 12, I'm talking full contact football.
We never played full contact at recess.
Okay, I'm talking about full
most
contact.
schools do.
Would you be okay with someone in grade 12? Do you think it would be okay for you to play full contact football against people who are in grade 6?
No, not without rules in place.
Why?
I mean, honestly, for the same reason I wouldn't let my kid play football anyway.
Why?
High risk of injury.
Very good. This is why we separate. This is why women's sports exists. It's to protect women who want to play sports.
That's why women's track exists, so that they don't get injured running against men in the 400.
With track, it's the fairness one. It's a high school boy can beat an Olympian woman. Did you know that?
After I graduated, there was a girl on the high school football team too, full contact.
Okay. I have a friend who's a doctor, and he's working on a new research drug for a disease called feel-sorry-forism. I want you to look him up after the show. Contact me, and we'll fix you up. Woo. Woo. 2 in a row. Juan, you better not be 3 in a row.
No, I'm not that type of person. I'm above that.
Oh, I think you're going to be my last caller. So let's make it a good one. What do you want to say or ask her?
Yeah, I just had a question about I've been reviewing your videos from with the whole Muslim debate about consent. Is there an age that you said that you think it's fine? Because
what's fine?
I can see from both sides that the age of consent, for my opinion, I think it should be 18. Keep it as simple as that.
Oh.
Just for even comes to marriage and stuff like that. Keep it at 18. It just makes things more simple.
You're talking people the same age, or consent for what? For sex or for trans, or what are you talking about?
Probably everything.
Yeah.
Let's be specific. Yeah, everything.
Let's be specific. Everything. If you're talking about coitus, I think it's okay for. I start to feel I have to. The only thing I can go with is my moral intuitions. I start to feel really icky if it's younger than 16. Even if it's two 14-year-olds going at it, I don't feel good about it. But 16, I start to feel a little bit better. 18, I'm definitely okay. On things like trans, procedure, gender affirming care, I actually feel icky at 18, but I'm okay with it. I think it should be all the way up to age 26, 28 when your prefrontal cortex is fully developed on issues like that, because it's so life altering, especially if you're doing surgeries. I think most people, I think all people differ on that question. Like, where's a good age to start? I actually think that driving should be higher. It shouldn't be 16. I think driving should start at 18, maybe even 21.
Why is that?
Because I think kids are so incredibly stupid. Like, especially with today's technology, like, I have to constantly remind my son not to. You make sure you don't touch your phone when you drive, or it's on, like, we have those little things on the dashboard, and it can hook into the Bluetooth of the. Every time he calls me, I'll say, "Are you on hands free?" He says, "Yes, Dad, I am." And I mean, kids are so susceptible to, I just gotta check this text. And they, at a red light, everything's fine, Dad. I'm at a red light. I can check my text. And then the light goes green, or they think it's going green because someone to the right of them went, and so they press the gas without actually even looking, and then rear end someone. Like, I bet you anything, if you have a friend who's a police officer and ask them about accidents and age, they're either really old people or really young people. The most accidents, not all, of course. And I think old people shouldn't be allowed to drive either.
That's, I agree with it there, because there's some just people just, I'll leave it at that then. Okay. Damn it, I forgot what I was about to say next. But when it comes to, like, I was also going through, like, with your debate with Andrew Wilson about, like, objective morality. Like,
Did I debate Andrew Wilson on objective morality?
A little bit, because you kind of, like, maybe indirectly, you kind of, like, no, that's someone else. Never mind. No,
that was Jim Bob, maybe. Made by Jim Bob?
Yeah. But for me, it wasn't quite clear on how, like, or actually, I think it was with Matt Slick. I think that I'm confusing.
Oh, yeah, Matt Slick. Yeah, definitely Matt Slick.
Yeah. Because I'm a little bit confused on what you mean by...
Are you a theist?
When you say to... No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm on your side. Like, I'm actually studying I'm still in college right now, but I'm actually an accountant. I'm trying to be a CPA.
Good for you. I'm proud of you for, if not already, you're going to be paying for the food of the far left progressives through your taxation dollars. So thank you for feeding the left.
Well, if you remember last time, I mean, my parents are illegal, as you say.
Oh, that's you. Oh, yeah. I remember you. Okay.
I would argue that I don't have to thank you, because I'm going to be paying back my, my fast one money, my child support money. I'll be paying it back for the next 5 years. So
you're like you're like me. You're one of the good immigrants. Oh, there's some people on the left. They just hate everything I say. It's just like, but yeah, I feel for your parents, because, kind of like the mistakes they made long ago are being highlighted now today because of the record problems we've seen the last 3.5 years. And, yeah.
Actually, then that kind of brings up to the next point, actually, or before that, before the whole morality thing. Because you kind of struck the nerve last time we talked, because you told me that, like, you kind of basically almost like told me to deport my parents. So like, that's not what you said specifically, but it's like if you were in my situation, if I have illegal immigrants, who would you vote for if you were in my position? Because it's like, for me, the way that I view it is, if I voted for Trump, I'm basically assuming that they're going to get deported. I mean, is it probable? Not, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, how would you?
Like, when
I'll be honest with you, I put all my hands and the cards on the table. Like, how am I supposed to? I have these two cognitive difference idea of what my parents are, and then
I don't believe
Maybe.
everything Trump says, and I don't believe everything Harris says. When Trump says mass deportation, he's not talking about your parents who've been, how many years that we're talking, like we're going on 30 probably or something?
Yeah, 26.
26 years, yeah. He's not talking about your parents. What's going to end up happening is if Trump wins, I do believe he's going to seal the border as tight as he can do it. And he will resume the building of the wall. Even Harris says she's going to, she supports funding for the building of the wall. And then he's going to start deporting people like those immigrants who are taking over that place in Colorado, those slum apartment complexes, like the worst of the worst first, and then slowly, the ones that maybe are on doing nothing but on welfare, deport them. The ones who have any criminal past but haven't done any criminality yet, deport them. There's going to be a hierarchy. There's no way, I don't think he can deport all the immigrants that came in illegally in the last 3.5 years.
Gotcha. Okay.
So your parents are safe. I mean, yeah. Now there might,
fair,
but they're not naturalized, right? Like they're not U.S. citizens, right? Yeah. But I do think there's opportunity for your parents, and I think actually both parties are in support of this, that people like your parents have an opportunity to pay a fine, pay a consequence, and then if they have a track record of being productive members of society, that they can become citizens.
Yeah, which they do. Because they done like the process of looking at their records. They went to City Hall and see if there are any records on file. And there's nothing on their end. But yeah. But to the point, like he doesn't really say at what time. He said he doesn't really specify what demographic of people are going to be deported. He just said general. So I look at it as like a worst case scenario. Like,
yeah,
I see it as like the worst case scenario on both ends. Do I make sense?
Well, the probability of your parents being deported is so extremely low. Like, how old are they? They're probably my age, right? Or older?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Older than that.
I mean, they're not going to round up 65-year-olds with no criminal history. Your parents haven't robbed banks or anything like that, right? No. What Trump is going to do is he's going to basically deport criminals, those with criminal history but haven't committed crime. Technically, they're all criminals because it's a federal offense to cross other than a port of entry. But he's going to do the worst of the offenders and the potential for the worst. Maybe even the mentally ill you'll deport. Who next? Yeah.
So are you basically open to the idea of amnesty?
I am open to that idea if basically the immigrant goes through all the background checks, health checks, shows that they're going to be a productive member of society, that there's a need for their skill in the country, that sort of thing. Basically, everything I had to go through. And then they have to pay for their sins of the past. Yeah, I think that's very reasonable and fair. You slap them on the wrist for doing things the wrong way. Then you look at, okay, do we want them to stay here? Are they a blessing to the country or a burden to the country? If the answer is blessing, then I think they can be on the road to amnesty.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. But back to the original point. When it comes to like with mass, like with morality, like I'm trying to understand what do you mean by not having no objective morality. Like you said that it's like if a society enforces, let's say murder is okay, you're willing to concede that it's okay. So your subjective morality.
Yeah, it's basically.
Did I get that right?
Yeah. So imagine. Let's take the worst possible thing. Rape is probably even better than murder because it has more of an emotional appeal. Let's take rape. Let's say everybody on the planet, everyone, said rape is okay. Question for you, Juan: is rape okay?
my assumption is no. That's my go-to answer.
Okay, but so it's kind of an unfair question because you're a person on the planet, so you would say, of course rape's okay because you just said everybody on the planet says rape's okay. But imagine you're an alien or whatever. I guess the point is that if 100% of people said rape was okay, and an alien looking down said, no, this is wrong. Basically, the planet of Homo sapiens, humans, would say, your opinion doesn't matter. We're all agreed that rape's okay. Now, even the women who get raped say it's okay. So is it wrong then?
Yeah, then I will incline to say yes. Then it's okay.
See,
but then then we're in the paradox of we're in the situation where then I do believe in objective morality because it's
right now, which could be true. Like there could be an objective morality out there, and this is what people like Tom Jump argue for, that there's a moral law, just like there's the law of gravity, just like gravity pulls things down to Earth at 9.8 meters per second squared. There's some type of pull on humanity towards a certain optimum behavior, and I don't buy that. I think, can we weigh it? Can we put it on a scale? Can we touch it? Can we see it? I don't buy that. But it could be true. And then, of course, God could be real, and he's the guy who says this is really, really wrong or really, really right. But then again, this God seems like it doesn't enforce any of these things, and where it's all up to us humans to do the enforcing of it. And they could, and how do we know God thinks this is really, really wrong? Well, some old text says so, or I just get this vision that God told me that. So it's not very reliable.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is that I know you like to use the example of the sword and the child piercing through a child heart. Because the way that I look at it is I care about the time, place, and matter, or context. I usually if you say if I say to myself, okay, in this context, in this situation, I don't see any context to kill a child. Assuming, let's say, a newborn infant. Let's pick that side.
You can't? I can.
I can. Well, yeah, I can't.
Well, maybe not a very realistic one, but let's say you had a child and someone said either Juan's child dies or I got 20 nuclear bombs all over the world that will kill millions and millions of people. What's better, for your baby to die or 20 million people to die?
See, and that's when my subjective.
Yeah, you as a parent, of course, would say, no, I rather my child live than 20 million people die. But if someone had to adjudicate it and be try to solve this moral dilemma, it's really a no-brainer. Your child's dead, and 20 million people get to live because your child died. And then one could make the argument that to not kill your child would be immoral, and that to kill your child is the moral thing to do if it's true that 20 million innocent lives are saved.
Yeah, that's for me. Yeah, it's true, but also wild.
Yeah,
I get it.
And hopefully, these types of moral dilemmas don't actually happen. But in war times, these moral dilemmas do happen.
Right, especially when it comes to atomic bomb,
yeah,
I agree with you. I would have. I if I was that person on the plane, I would have, and especially if I know what post hoc wise, I would have done it. I would put the button and I'm willing to, make the decision of dropping the bomb.
Yeah.
But when it comes to personal stuff, then that's when the conflict of interest comes in. But
yeah. So I believe in subjective morality. However, I can totally understand those who believe in objective morality. I can understand their point of view because some things just really, I agree with William Lane Craig, some things just really do feel always wrong, like rape, genocide, that sort of thing. It just really does feel wrong. But then you ask yourself, okay, but what's my justification? Just really feeling it? Now, I think we evolved this way to have these intuitions but we know our intuitions can fail us. But still, I think on certain, small handful of things, we can get really close to saying objective morality exists, because almost all normal, sane individuals would not want this. And so we share this intuition. So maybe it is objective. But I still say no. Like you mentioned it earlier, the way, like 5,000-10,000 years ago, the way humans interact with each other. And if you go back 100,000-200,000 years ago, my guess is most reproduction occurred by rape.
Yeah, there was no consent because you're not. I think we're not incapable of knowing what consent is.
Our ancestors didn't even have vocal cords to. Would you like this dance? A movie, dinner? No. It's just like, hey, and then you grab them, and then coitus happens.
Gotcha. All right.
Anyhow, thanks for coming on. On that note,
sure. I'll leave it at that.
See you, Juan.
All right then. Thanks.
All the best to your parents. Well, that was good. I enjoyed that, even though some of it was craziness. Thanks for coming on, Jefferson. You always give me a good show. And William, thanks for coming on, William. And Juan. But he gave me a good show for a different reason. Who was the other caller? I had another one. Didn't I have 4, 5? Okay, let's focus on the chat. Cue the smooth jazz. I don't know, was this called jazz? It's some type of fusion, right? Of jazz and what? Pop? True, Andrew, good point. William Lane Craig doesn't think genocide is always wrong. I think William Lane Craig would be forced to say disobeying God is always wrong. That's the only thing. Morality could be objective but not absolute, and objective morality could change as we evolve. Oh, interesting. Usually when people talk about objective, and I usually am clear about this, but maybe today I wasn't, that something is always wrong in any context, in any time period. If that's how you define objective, not dependent on personal subjective opinion, but you're defining objective a little differently. This is the same music as Shaka Fishing, really? Yes, it's Labor Day. This is Labor Day weekend. It is mostly for Republicans because they do most of the hard work in the country. Your plumber is not Democrat. Your electrician's not Democrat. Your farmers who provide your food are not Democrats. It's the Republicans that sustain you. The left wing, like, what do they really do? You cannot eat a podcast.